what?
A value proposition, like what the city's, what we recommend the city should have as far as, he was here. How do I say it? Basically, what do we stand for? What's our vision? Not values, vision statement. And that's something that they said would originate with our committee. So should we see about adding that to a future agenda?
Next week, or next meeting's agenda.
Yep.
When we come to the scheduling future meetings, 3.5.
Perfect.
If you'll bring that up.
I sure will.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, then we can get it on the
Awesome.
next meeting. Okay. very good.
I just wanted to be sure I was bringing it up at the right time.
Yeah,
So
that would be.
thank you, Robert.
Okay, no problem. Everybody ready? Yeah. Okay. It's 6:30. Welcome everybody to the McLendon-Chisholm Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for this evening. Call to order. We do have a quorum. Would anybody care to do that invocation? If not, I will be glad to. Let's bow our heads for a moment of prayer, please. Father, we just are so grateful that we live in a free society where we can meet and where we can discuss the issues, and that we are just part of this great land called America. We thank you for the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Father, may we take our duties and very seriously, and may we always do what we think is in the best interest of the citizens from McLendon-Chisholm. Amen. Would you stand, please, and join with me in the pledge of the United States flag and then the Texas flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Okay, we go to item 3, which is the item for consideration on the agenda. Consider approval of minutes for May 16, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting. There are some draft minutes attached. Do I have any comment on those meetings? If not, a motion.
Just so you know, I did correct the spelling of Miss Swalge's last name, so it was misspelled in your draft, but I corrected those now.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Move we approve the minutes for May 16th.
Okay, a motion has been made that we approve the regular minutes from May 16, 2019. Is there a second?
I second.
A motion has been made and second that we approve the minutes from the May 16, 2019 P&Z meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes approved. The second part is to consider approval of minutes for July 17, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting. The draft minutes are attached. Do I hear any comment, or is there a motion?
I'm motion to approve the minutes for July 17th.
A motion has been made that we approve the minutes of the P&Z meeting for July 17th. Is there a second?
Okay.
A motion has been made and seconded that we approve the minutes for July 17th Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting. All approve, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay.
Just a typo.
Yeah. We are here to have a public hearing. The public hearing, discussion, and action considering the application of J.K. Webb Properties requesting an amendment to the existing Kingsbridge Planned Development Office 1 zoning district to change the rear building setback to 15 foot and allow a maximum lot coverage requirement of 80% for a purchasing office to be built. The property location is described as 1.065 acres, also described as 5763 South State Highway 205, as described in Exhibit D of the Kingsbridge Planned Development District, McLendon-Chisholm, requested by Kevin Webb. That public hearing is now open. Gentlemen, you are from...
Would you like Mr. Crowley to do the staff report first? Or
Yeah,
is that
okay, if we
easier?
can
Give
have
you a
the
little
staff report.
background?
Yeah, the staff report first.
Or is it already first? I had a fun time, what was it, Tuesday night where the mics kept dying on me. I thought it was some effect I had on the mics. I'm Carl Crawley, 900 Jackson Street, Dallas, Texas, with Master Plan. Just to give you a little sort of, this originally started, this request was going to be a Board of Adjustment request, but we couldn't get there from here. So we looked at this, and this larger Kingsbridge PD, it's a large PD, obviously. There is a smaller sub-area, this Exhibit D, that is very specific for office-type uses, O1 uses. That's where the existing facility is. That has some rules that probably were good, thought out when it went into place, but would make it very difficult to develop for anything commercial. The one site would, as it's developed today, one of the requests in here is about lot coverage. It's different. That PD is a little different than the rest of the whole code. It talks about lot coverage being, including basically permeable versus non-permeable. Lot coverage by itself is considered to be of the floor area, how much the building covers on the site. And the rest of the code zoning ordinance for the city, that's how it's defined. But this one PD came in there and said the lot coverage was, I believe, 50%, and it included parking lots. Well, if you think about it, a commercial development has a parking lot on it, and if you had a building in a parking lot, you'd be very difficult to do much in the way of development and still combine with that 50% lot coverage. Obviously, McLendon-Chisholm is different than other towns because of the sanitary sewer and that sort of situation. But if you get past that situation, you're still kind of difficult to develop commercial uses, in this PD at least, with that permeable coverage versus lot coverage scenario. So I worked with the applicant, and this one tract of land, we decided to come up with a sub-area for this one tract of land. Not owning the rest of this exhibit, by code and law, I can't change the zoning, or he couldn't change the zoning on the rest of the property without their permission. So the easiest way to do this was to create a sub-area, the sub-area 1 idea, and then we would craft the rules for that sub-area in this PD to fit their development. What they are requesting is would comply with the rest of the city code in the way of lot coverage. They're asking for a little different setback on the rear yard. This has 2 front yards, and the rear yard is not really what you and I would think of as a rear yard in that sense, with 2 front yards with a corner lot. So what we did is craft a sub area that would base the lot coverage on 50%, which is what is a normal sort of lot coverage for land area versus building area, and then the setback requirements. The other thing that was sort of noticed when we were doing all this is that the existing building that's out there, and I'm sure everyone knows the building there on 205, it would not comply today with the commercial development standards that were put in place after the PD was put in place. So now would be a good time, obviously, to bring that into compliance. That you have, Lisa handed out to you 11 by 17s of a site plan that literally we got today that takes the new building, and there are 2 things in the commercial development standards that it didn't comply with. The length of one building wall can't be greater than 80 feet, and it didn't comply. The new building didn't comply with that. And 6,000 square feet of floor area for the ground floor of any building, and it didn't comply with that before. Now, he provided us with a revised site plan that now does comply with that, and we get the next item, that will be the item, we'll discuss that. So that said, the new building would comply with the 6,000 square feet by 2 square feet, but the existing building does not. It's more than 6,000 square feet. So again, if we're here, does it make any difference? It's an existing building. Now's the time to clean it up, just in case. Now's the time to do that. Non-conforming uses or non-standard uses can have difficulty in the future someday if they ever wanted to get financing or something. Probably wouldn't come up, but might as well do it while we're here. So the request is to add this additional building. You've seen the site plan. I could go through the pictures that are there in your docket, but we all know what is out there and stuff. It's what the use that's there is compatible. The next building over is compatible. They'll do some landscaping associated with that. Most of the landscaping is there's already trees up and down 205 and that sort of stuff. So they'll do some minimal landscaping around the footprint of the building and stuff to sort of bring it in compliance with what the other building looks like, or just blend in there. We think it's a good request. We're recommending approval of it.
On what page is your recommended approval?
We are on page, let's see, if your docket, it's page 20 of 47,
Okay.
which would be the back of the first page, and
Yeah,
then
I just wanted to make sure.
yeah, then the conditions that would be part of that are in that next page. The other condition that is in there, which the existing PD and actually the city ordinance, and that's a bigger discussion for a future date maybe, office uses as a parking at 1 to 250. That's pretty strenuous. That's also the parking is for retail, and that's office and retail are two different animals. They probably, with the building getting a little smaller, because with this revised site plan, they probably could comply with the existing zoning. I would still suggest we leave that different parking ratio there at 1 to 350, which is more in line with what most cities and towns require for office uses. We telecommute now. We do a lot of that sort of stuff. It really is more in line with what we're seeing now in the industry and around the country. And actually around the country, parking is getting less and less a need, and we get into why do we need to cover up concrete? Why do we need to cover up land with concrete if we don't have to? So I would still recommend leaving that in there. It probably solves a problem if there is one with the existing building being a little larger. So. I'm here to answer any questions. Any other questions about it?
Any questions from the?
Yes. Could you please clarify for me? I believe I understood you to say the maximum lot coverage in this district is 50%?
You're all right. I put in there 40%.
Okay,
I
so
apologize.
if we could just make notation of
Yeah,
that then?
and it's in your conditions. If any motion was per the conditions in your docket, it would cover that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I believe the existing PD talks about 50% and has that weird permeable idea versus lot
No
coverage.
problem. I just wanted to be sure that all
Yeah.
of everything is accurate
Thank
and
you.
correct. So, okay.
So
Thank you.
I have two questions. So just to clarify, so what we're voting on tonight is for this lot, or it's for the whole, it's for the office use in the whole PD?
This lot right
So
here.
we're not
it's-
changing the office use in the PD, we're just changing
No,
this lot?
because all this owner has is the ability to ask for zoning on his thing. And the PD is huge, right?
Right.
There is this already a sub-area that's associated with Exhibit D, this 13 plus acres. Now there'll be a sub-area inside of that, which will have these rules.
Okay.
Now, the other rules that in this part of the PD that say office uses and those type of things, they're not changing.
Okay.
So,
And then my other question, and maybe the utilities are on here and I'm missing them, but I don't think so. Is there sanitary sewer in this area, or is this all septic out here?
yeah.
So where is the septic? Is it aerobic, or is there a field, or? Okay. So this doesn't impact the ability?
No,
of
and
the-
even
'Cause that
if
may
you
be why
even if
some
you
of that
right
was
even if
left
you approved a site plan, they
vacant
still
land,
have to
yeah.
get a building permit, and part of that is to prove that.
No, I was just thinking that might be part of the reason that some of that land was
And
left.
but
At the
again, I
time,
think
yeah.
if
Things have
you
changed.
have that belt and suspenders in a sense, sure the coverage may be 50%, maybe you can put it with, but if you can't serve it with septic, then it doesn't make any
No,
difference.
exactly.
If you have no parking or a lot of parking without it,
Right.
that's still you still can't get a permit. You might have great zoning, but if you can't serve it, you can't serve it.
Okay.
Is the building itself going to be a replicate of the adjacent building, or something
You know,
similar to? Is it going to deviate to what degree?
It might be best to wait to have them answer that when they,
I have the same question.
because I can't. They can tell you the
Fine.
architecture of it.
Fine.
Yeah. I guess. If there's any more questions, if not, yeah.
If it's going to be in your discussion, we'll just pick it up during that time. It's fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead get to the mic, please, and podium, sir. Thank you. You have to press the on button.
I'm sorry, they're batteries, and we try to save them when they're not used.
There you go.
You hear me now? Yes. Okay, Donnie Evans, 904 Majestic Point, Heath, Texas. I work for Altura Homes, and yes, we envision that building to be very, very similar to the building we have right now. Yes, ma'am. There may be a few minor changes, but not enough that you would even probably notice it.
Yeah, I noticed it said 100% masonry in the building materials, and so obviously from an aesthetics perspective, because this is on the street, correct? This is also on 205?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so just it will be comparable as you're entering that subdivision.
Yes, ma'am. I think I understood her right. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Okay. One of the other questions I had, I'm looking at the lighting. So I just want to confirm, fully shielded with 80-degree cutoff. What you're referring to that, and I apologize, I'm newer to all of this, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding, is protection of the neighborhood behind this property. That 80-degree cutoff, can somebody explain to me exactly what that means and how this potentially could impact homeowners in and around the area?
I don't think anything we do will affect anything around any particular area we've got. It's very low lighting around the eaves of the building.
Okay.
So I don't see any way that we would do more than a normal residential would do.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the other question I had is related to the off-street parking. Where is the off-street parking? Is that actually located in the Kingsbridge neighborhood, or what are we referring to in the paper where it says off-street parking?
You should have on your diagram there, it should show the off-street parking.
Yeah, it's the parking there on the site plan. Refer to that, the one that Lisa handed out, the 11 by 17. All the parking around those two buildings, that's it.
I'm assuming this is all. So all the surrounding parking, all the parking that surrounds the building is considered off-site?
Yes.
Off-street. It's off-street parking, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all this is considered off-street.
The existing parking is there except in front of the new building there, or to the side of it, which would be the facing 205.
Okay.
So we'd be adding that 100 feet, whatever the footage is right there.
Okay.
It's about 20 spaces.
Something like that. Yes, sir.
It's almost like they're flipping the building over almost and doing another mirror of it. It will look a little different, but as if you thought about it, it's like, okay, take this building and fill the gap in, flip it over. It's a little smaller, but not, you'd have to get out and measure it before you could probably tell.
And this utilization is for professional office, right? Is that what it's designated for?
Yes, ma'am. That'd be for our current office right now. Is we're going to bring a title company out there to